Welcome to Conspiracy Corner Podcast, everyone. This is Abe, your host. It is October 4th, 2025. That is NIB, a cover of Black Sabbath by Glenn Danzig, the band Danzig. Yeah, I love Danzig. That's my favorite singer. There's one for you, old school Dave, because I know he likes Danzig too. When I played Danzig as one of the intros one day, he's like, "Fuck yeah, Danzig!" I'm like, "Yeah, dude, I love Danzig." Danzig, Misfits, Samhain, that's my favorite shit. And it's the spooky season. I told you guys we are going to focus more. I do it every year, and I'm not sure if people like it or dislike it. I don't know. It's up to you guys. I mean, I hope you guys enjoy it, but the month of October, Halloween is my favorite holiday. And during the month of October, I try to get into more like spooky types of topics. And this is one that I've put in my little handy dandy notebook, and I've thought about doing this for years. Hang on just a second. Thought about doing this for years, of the true history behind the legend of Sleepy Hollow. So I'll never forget, man. The first time I got into Sleepy Hollow, I was a kid, and it was the Tim Burton movie with Johnny Depp as Ichabod Crane, and my parents were like super weird. So like, my dad was a preacher, you guys know that, but he was also like a cinephile, um, along with other different types of files. But he he was real weird. Like, he would let us watch some things that you would be surprised he'd let us watch, but then some things he was like there was no Harry Potter in the house whatsoever. Harry Potter was like, nope. He was real anti-witchcraft, but for some reason he was cool with the Legend of Sleepy Hollow. I have no clue why he was cool with that one. Because watching it now, it still baffles me because there's like a shit ton of witchcraft in there. Um, the message of the story is really honestly that witches are cool and good. The movie, not the book. I don't know. It was really strange, but he was cool with the Legend of Sleepy Hollow. Um, which I was cool with it because I got to see that badass fucking movie, and to this day, it's still badass. I do have to say this though. Now that I'm an adult, watching it now, I was like, oh, I didn't realize that this movie's kind of like cheesy and campy and tacky a little bit, just a little bit. And I never noticed that as a kid, obviously. Um, but like, it doesn't bother me, but you could tell Tim Burton was like, he was kind of goofy with it, I guess, a little bit. You know, I mean, it's not to the degree of like something like Evil Dead or something, but so that was my first introduction to Sleepy Hollow. And my second introduction to Sleepy Hollow, and I'll never forget it. I think I still have it. I'm pretty sure I still own it. But I was at Dollar Tree in Florida, and my mom was like, hey, you can get anything here you want. You know, anytime we went to Dollar Tree, I loved going to Dollar Tree because we could get a toy or candy. My little brother Luke would always get candy, and then he would eat it all on the ride home and then be sad that it was gone. I would never get candy. And I told him one day, I'm like, homie, get a toy. Because if you get a toy, it lasts forever. You know, in my little kid brain, you know, I didn't think about, like, obviously it's not going to last forever. But I don't know. I was a smart little dude. But I'll never forget, dude, I picked up, it was a hardcover Legend of Sleepy Hollow, and it was like this thick. And this was like when I first got into reading, and I was like, oh my god, this is a chapter book. You felt so fucking cool when you first learned that you could read chapter books, you know what I mean? Like, you felt grown up, dude. And Legend of Sleepy Hollow, I had seen the movie. You know, it was spooky, it was scary. Like, I was like, dude, this is so sick, man, for $1. And I still have that freaking book to this day. And I I used to try to read it like every October. I need to read it. I got to get it out of storage. It's fucking awesome. Um, but it's a short story, and it was written by Washington Irving. The book is obviously not like the movie. There's a lot of fucking um, artistic license that was taken with the movie, which is like that's with anything. Anytime there's a movie, they're always going to take artistic license. Um, but I remember being a little kid and reading this at school, and the movie was real hip at the time, and I was reading the book, and I remember like someone coming up to me and being like, you know, because like in Florida, we had a lot of influx of New Yorkers. For some reason, I'm not sure if it's still like that to this day, but for some reason, a lot of New Yorkers were moving down from New York City mostly, and coming down to Florida because they thought, well, and it was cheap. But they were like, yeah, it's super cheap to live down here. But here's the thing, though. So when all the New Yorkers moved down from New York to Florida, because the Floridians are smart, we're smart motherfuckers. Crackers are smart. Um, and I don't mean just like white people. Crackers, you know how like people from Tennessee, or not Tennessee, Indiana are called Hoosers. Our term is literally called crackers. Like, we call each other crackers. Anytime I run across a Floridian, I'm like, oh, you're a cracker, you know? And they could be a black dude, you know? And they get it. Like, we're all called crackers. If you're from Florida, you're a cracker. So, what was I saying? Oh, so all the crackers figured out, like, dude, these New Yorkers are rich as fuck, and they're coming down here thinking everything's cheap. So they drove the prices up of everything. Like, cost of living went up, the price of houses went up because all these Yankees were coming down. So they're like, we can charge them double. And it kind of sadly drove out all the native Floridians and crackers out of Florida. And now it's kind of run by like New Yorkers and shit, which sucks. Hence why I moved to Kentucky at like 15, 16 years old. Um, but down in Florida, there was like a little Yankee kid. I was a little kid, and I don't remember who it was, but there was a Yankee kid who was from New England. And they seen that I was reading Sleepy Hollow, and we were talking about the movie and shit. And he's like, you know, that's a real town. I've been there. And I'm like, what? It blew my fucking mind as a little kid. I was like, no fucking way. Sleepy Hollow's a real fucking place? And he's like, yeah, dude, and I've been there. So, of course, as a little kid growing up in a conspiracy theorist family, I'm like, is it true? Like, is there really a ghost of the Headless Horseman? Or, I mean, is the Headless Horseman real? And he's like, and he was hamming it up. He knew he was hamming it up. He's like, yeah, dude, it's real, man. I got to see him, you know. He told me some crazy shit. But as an adult, when I got older, I'm like, holy shit, like Sleepy Hollow is an actual real town. I thought maybe it was like a urban legend, but it's a real place. Not saying the Headless Horseman's real, but so we're gonna dive into it, man. All right, so let's dive into it. I have a Buy Me a Coffee account set up in the link below. If you want to donate $1 or two, that's cool. That would help. It helps pay for business cards, notebooks, pens, paper. It helps pay for the channel. The true history behind the legend of Sleepy Hollow. Largely forgotten today, Washington Irving has an odd historical legacy that dips deep into the families and lands of Westchester County. That's a beautiful picture. So, and by the way, the book that I was telling you about that I got from Dollar Tree, the second part of it actually is Rip Van Winkle. So, the tale of Rip Van Winkle, the man who famously fell asleep for years and years, awoke to a changed, unfamiliar world. Is about as familiar as it gets when it comes to American folklore. And by the way, I think that story is about Fae folk, which you guys know me, I'm pretty like fascinated with Fae. Supposedly, when Lucifer was thrown out of heaven, him and Lucifer and the rebel angels fell out of heaven and became demons. But there was also the good angels who got to stay in heaven and who are supposedly up there now. But the ones who were neutral and didn't side with Jehovah or Lucifer supposedly fell from heaven to earth and not to hell, and became the Fae folk, which would be gnomes, elves, Sasquatch, shit like that. Anything non-demonic, but and non-angelic. They became fairies, That's the Fae. So, supposedly, Rip Van Winkle took a drink or something from a Fae. They always say don't ever take a drink or food from Fae, because they will literally put you to sleep and you will go into, like, their world. Loss of time. I had a UFO experience where I have loss of time. I've talked about this before. I don't know how long me and my ex-wife were standing there watching these UFO. There was loss of time. We were both hypnotized. So, was I probed? Maybe. Maybe that's why I'm into butt stuff, But yeah, that's the story of Rip Van Winkle. There's always truth to legend. Myth and even myth, I would say myth is like when religion expires. Legend, they say with legend, there's always a grain of truth. It's based off something real. So, the unfamiliar world is about as familiar as it gets when it comes to American folklore. Likewise is the famously tall and gaunt Ichabod Crane, which, by the way, when they chose Ichabod Crane for the movie, they chose like the most sexiest dude in Hollywood, which is Johnny Depp. Brad Pitt's hot. Keanu Reeves is hot. I'm getting gay over here. I don't give a fuck. You guys know me. I'm kind of weird with my sexuality. Brad Pitt's hot. Johnny Depp's hot. Keanu Reeves is hot. I'd say those are like the three hottest dudes in Hollywood. Ichabod Crane in the book is literally described as like a lanky... He's got a big Adam's apple. He's lanky. He's got a big, long hook nose. He kind of looks like a fae. He's literally described as like a freak of nature. Like he's a real weird guy, man. So it was funny that they chose like a sexy guy to play him. I'm like, that's not Ichabod Crane. Like, I didn't know that until I read the book. But once I read the book, I'm like, no, Ichabod's supposed to be like pale and gangly and weird and awkward, and you know what I mean. Sorry, it's just funny. Once again, artistic license, So, Ichabod Crane. One might have mistaken him for some scarecrow eloped from a cornfield, is what the book says, because he looked like a scarecrow. He was a freak, scared out of his wits in the legend of Sleepy Hollow by the terrifying, blood-curdling sight of the Headless Horseman. As rooted in folklore as Rip Van Winkle and the legend of Sleepy Hollow, are not, in fact, popular legends and myths that sprang up during the early years of the United States. They are works of fiction penned by Washington Irving. The only other American folklore that I've actually heard was Johnny Appleseed, which I'm not gonna lie, I've heard, at least with Florida education, that he was a real dude. We'll have to do a deep dive on him. Most people haven't even heard of Johnny Appleseed. He wore a pan on his head instead of a hat. and he planted seeds throughout his travels of America, and that's where all the apple trees come from. Um, I, she's asleep, Mama. What you need? Sorry, guys. Um, but yeah, Johnny Appleseed, he might be a real dude. I don't fucking know. We'll look into it one day. Maybe we'll do a fun episode about that. Where was I at though? As rooted in folklore as Rip Van Winkle, Washington Irving. Okay. Largely forgotten today, Washington Irving has an odd historical legacy. His literary output has long been a part of the American vernacular. Yet, the actual source of these writings, the author himself, has basically fallen into obscurity. He's a good writer, too. It's a short story. So, like, if you have the fucking time, read it. It's literally, you can read it in one sitting. Um, so back in Northwest Elementary School, we are the Mustangs at Northwest Elementary. We are the very best. Sorry, Andy Pittman he would like that little war song. Miss Sedlak, she was the principal. Um, she was I think a Jewish lesbian. It was crazy, but what was I saying? Miss Sedlak was scary though. Uh, in Northwest Elementary School down in Hudson, Florida, we had days that and then the whole school took part of it. It was kind of cool. Well, at least our sections, our pod would take part in to get like kids reading, because this was back in the 90s when the education system cared about children's education and not so much cultural Marxism. We had days, and it would happen once a year. They would have like literally like one day out of the whole school year, and they would do it every school year. So it was kind of cool, where you got to bring your blankets to school, a blanket, a pillow, a sleeping bag, and you got to bring whatever book you wanted to read. And for that day, because a whole school shift was 6 hours, so for 6 hours you got to read whatever you wanted to read. You got to pick. You could read comic books. You could read. So I remember one year I brought Sleepy Hollow, and I read it in one sitting, the entire book. I was impressed with myself. I was like, holy shit, dude, I read the entire fucking chapter book in one day. And then one year I brought Neverending Story by Michael Ende. That was pretty cool. I love Neverending Story, and a lot of people don't know that it's an actual book. The book is dope. It's occult as fuck. But yeah, dude. Those are the two books I remember bringing and reading. I didn't finish Neverending Story. That book is thick, man. But yeah, you can. So as an adult, it's like, homie, you can read this shit in one day. Like today, I had to get on to my buddy. He's like, we were talking about Fantastic Beasts and where to find them by J.K. Rowling. And he's like, is the book good? And I'm like, dude, it's a bestiary. It's literally like, almost kind of like reading a newspaper. Like, it's articles. You'll pick one creature, and it tells the history of that creature, what they do, what it does. It's like a Pokédex, but it also tells the history of how it was discovered. So there's little tiny short stories. I was like, I read it in one sitting. I literally, before work one day, I drove to Kroger early because I'm an insomniac and I can't sleep. So I went up there early one day and I read it in one sitting. So yeah, read Sleepy Hollow. You can read it in one sitting. Stop being lazy. We need to read more, people. I'm not like preaching at you, but I'm preaching at you. So, largely forgotten today, Washington Irving has an odd historical legend. His literary output has long been a part of American vernacular. We'll skip over that. Has basically fallen into obscurity. The author himself has basically fallen into obscurity, which sucks. That was what I was when I went on that little side rant. He's a good fucking author. It's a good book. If there was not influence enough, the word Knickerbocker a denizen of New York City, also springs from Irving's pen, hence the nickname uh, of the storied NYC NBA franchise. The year 2019 marked the bicentennial of the publication of the sketchbook of Jeffrey Crayon Gent, which was sterilized between 1819 and 1820. The Legend of Sleepy Hollow was published as part of the sketchbook on March 1820 because of the sterilization. The anniversary of the Sleepy Hollow based short story was celebrated in 2019 and 2020, and with that comes an opportunity to restore Washington Irving to his rightful stature. Awesome. I don't know much about Washington Irving, but I love Sleepy Hollow. The physical and psychological landscape of the Hudson Valley, which is where Sleepy Hollow is, are part of the parcels of Irving's most famous fictional creations. Sleepy Hollow transpires near Tarrytown, as Irving styled it, a retreat whither I might steal from the world and its distractions and dream quietly away. And this is actually a photo of obviously a fake headless horseman in Sleepy Hollow, and that's in the Hudson Valley. I want to go here so fucking bad and document it. It would be so fucking cool for the channel. Like I do want to win the lotto so I can like travel and make documentaries, and that's my dream. That's my American dream. Wake up, babe. No, I'm just kidding. The physical and psychological landscape of the Hudson Valley are part of the parcels of Irving's most fictional creations. Sleepy Hollow Okay, we read that. Washington Irving lived and worked here in the Hudson Valley. So he lived and worked in the Hudson Valley, near Tarrytown and Sleepy Hollow, I'm guessing. And the region's beauty and mystery remain forever linked to his writing output. So it's definitely set in fall. So he was looking around and visited Sleepy Hollow and Tarrytown and was like, I'm gonna write a legend about this place. Sleepy Hollow is a real place, of course, as is Tarrytown. Irving is the namesake of the village of Irvington. Local drivers can avail themselves of the Rip Van Winkle Bridge. It doesn't take much to ascertain his regional influence. So the Rip Van Winkle Bridge is where he had the showdown with the Headless Horseman, if I'm not mistaken, in the book. So you can actually go to the bridge where Ichabod Crane and the Headless Horseman, fictionally, obviously, like had their little showdown, dude. As a town, the legacy of Sleepy Hollow and that of Washington Irving are closely shared, notes Henry Steiner, the official historian for the village of Sleepy Hollow. Sleepy Hollow has been influenced by Irving and Irving by Sleepy Hollow. One legacy would not be the same without the other. Irving was a prolific writer, but his two most famous iconic works are The Legend of Sleepy Hollow and Rip Van Winkle. Sleepy Hollow is the real place that inspired Irving's best work, and the reception of this short masterpiece was instrumental in establishing Irving's great fame. He returned the favor by making Sleepy Hollow, the place, world famous. And you know, dude, like I've been to Point Pleasant like 3 fucking times, I think. And I want to go back because we still haven't checked out Chief Cornstalk's grave, where the curse got put on the town. I still need to go back like one more time at least. We went to the radioactive site. We went to the museum. I still need to go back at least one more time. I'm not gonna lie, dude. I've been to Point Pleasant like 2 or 3 times, man. I love Point Pleasant. If I was rich, I ain't gonna lie, dude. I'm like, there's a part of me that was like, can we move here, please? You know, I felt that way about the Flatwood Monsters place too. Where was that? What town was that? But yeah, there's just like certain towns, like I'm like, dude, That's why I'm kind of scared in a way to visit Sleepy Hollow, because there's a part of me that's like, can we just stay and not go back home? Can we make this our new home? Like, you know, I want to visit so bad. If you visited this place, oh, but what I was gonna say though is like, usually when there's like a paranormal or ufological or cryptid something, if there's like a conspiracy type of vibe or story, famous story, conspiracy wise, to that town, they usually embrace it, which is pretty fucking cool. Like Point Pleasant, dude. Everyone in town, like, we were obvious tourists, you know. Everyone in town was just eating it up, like, oh, welcome to Point Pleasant. Are you here, you know, trying to find them off, man? Like, they just love it, dude. Most towns embrace that shit. And it sounds like Sleepy Hollow is the same way. Like, they embrace it, man, which is cool. Salem is another place I want to go to where the witch trials happen. They embrace it, dude. Irving's expansive estate Sunnyside is located in Tarrytown and is an active historical and educational site that hosts a wide range of visitors. Sunnyside, according to Historic Hudson Valley's Karen Clark, celebrates Washington Irving and his impact on the region and on literature in general. He had a lasting impact on our culture. This makes his general unfamiliarity today all the more puzzling. The young United States of the 19th century, flush with independence, nevertheless struggled with a deep-seated inferiority complex. Europe was the front of culture and knowledge. Writing in New York at the beginning of the 19th century, according to scholar William L. Hedges, meant writing for an audience bent on viewing itself as sophisticated. Irving did not disappoint. Sleepy Hollow, with its innovative mixture of the American colloquial inflected with a good dose of spooky German folklore, pushed him to the rank of literary celebrity. And he is, man. I know most people think when they hear Sleepy Hollow, they think of the Tim Burton movie, but I automatically go, oh, Washington Irving. Have you read it? And if someone has read it, I'm like, dude, fucking dope, right? Sleepy Hollow. It's one of the few books that I've read over and over and over again. I don't really like to read stuff over and over and over again, but Sleepy Hollow is one that I've probably read it 6 or 7 times. It's fucking dope. So hugely, one of the first hugely acclaimed writers to come out of the United States. Other writers at the time were Edgar Allan Poe. Were eager for his approval. So Poe was trying to get to the approval of Washington Irving. Holy shit. That's pretty fucking cool. Imagine that, being Washington Irving and Edgar Allan Poe, which, by the way, Poe and Washington Irving, like, were not big writers at the time. I mean, I'm sure they were, like, kind of famous, but, like, obviously, sadly, with any form of art, people don't become super famous until after they die. I mean, look at Kurt Cobain, you know, and that's a conspiracy. let's not jump down that rabbit hole. But you know what I'm saying? Imagine that, though, being Washington Irving, and here's this lad coming up to you, Edgar Allan Poe, you know, like, did you see my new article in the newspaper? Because he was a journalist, you know. But he did write short stories, too. Was it creepy? Did you like my ghost story in the newspaper? It was okay, but I'd work on this, you know. If you were Washington Irving, I'd work on this, you know. I'll work on that. Yeah, that's my advice to you. I'll see you later, Poe, you know. We're eager for his approval. The public clamored for his autograph. So he was like a celeb then. People were asking for autographs. That's cool. He broke bread with President Martin Van Buren. Irving's friendly letter to Charles Dickens thrilled the British writer to no end. Holy shit. So he was writing letters to Charles Dickens, and Dickens was like stoked about it. So yeah, he was famous, man. But apparently just got lost in the sands of time. Such was the international renown of Washington Irving. It's beautiful. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of cover the real Sleepy Hollow. Is it a true story? I'm sorry to burst your bubble. It's not a true story, but the location is real. So, if you're a fan of the paranormal and American legends, I still need to do an episode on urban legends one day, because those are cool. It's the spooky month, and it's my favorite holiday is Halloween, and I love Washington Irving. I love the Legend of Sleepy Hollow. I love the paranormal. You guys know me. I thought this would be a fun episode, because I know, like, on this channel, dude, there's so much darkness in this world that's going on right now, with Charlie Kirk, and I don't know. There's just a lot of negativity on the internet and darkness in the world. And I just want to, like, yes, Halloween is a dark holiday, but you can still have fun, you know? Like tonight, me and my wife were watching Gravity Falls, and I was like, I don't know, I want to start celebrating the holidays again, you know? As far as at least Halloween. I love fall. I love, the spookiness. I want to start watching scary movies and doing reviews on them with my conspiracy cinema um, segments. And I don't know. Happy Halloween. It's not here yet, but if you're watching this around Halloween or whatever, happy Halloween. Um, we're going to do more of this month. I'm going to enjoy the month of October. Y'all have a good day. Please like, share, and subscribe.